Son of a bitch.
Groovy.
Hey everybody, this is Matthew Movies coming at you with my review of Thor Ragnarok, the 2017 Marvel Cinematic Universe that I gotta tell you, I loved. I had such a good time with this movie. I really don't have any real complaints. I thought it was awesome. I thought so many of the characters were very, very well done, and I'm sure there are lots of people out there who have their flaws with it, and I completely understand that. It is not a perfect movie by any stretch of the imagination, but I had a ball. I just had such a good time with it. For those of you who don't know what this movie is about, basically Asgard gets taken over and it forces some Asgardians into the hiding, and Thor and Loki get exiled off planet, and they are on a world where there's basically gladiatorial battles that take place, and Thor gets thrown into that, and from there they go and they decide that they're going to try to take Asgard back, and so on and so forth. But for me, I mean, the real fun is, first off, this movie has so many funny moments in it, and the characters are all so well done. I mean, right off the hop, you have Thor and Loki that are both back in this movie together, and it's so much fun to see Loki back on screen, and Thor, I mean, he's awesome, and the repartee back and forth is just fantastic. I mean, the charisma and the chemistry on screen when those two guys are together is just so great. I mean, I just adore them as a pair. Loki, I mean, I just always so happy when he is in the film. I mean, I did think for a little while there they were maybe slightly overexposing him, but I mean, he was back in full form here, and he hadn't been on screen for quite a while, and I was just so stoked to have him. I mean, and their relationship was so well done, where you could tell that there is that affection there between the two of them, but they also, you know, they have their differences, and there's these moments where Thor speaks about their relationship like it's, you know, the conclusion to it is foregone, and that he knows that no matter how much he loves Loki, that they're gonna end up coming into battle with one another, and Loki is always gonna betray him, and just the dynamic between the two of them, I thought was so expertly handled, and the way that Loki ends up ingratiating himself to the leader of the planet, whereas Thor is in the battle. I mean, just so well done. And then they introduced Hela, who was played by Kate Blanchett, as the villain of the film, and I thought she was spectacular. I mean, I thought she completely committed to the role, and she was very serious and deadly and evil, and there was just a real menace to her. And it's funny because I feel like that could have been a problem, because the rest of the movie, it does have such a comedy bend to it, but I actually feel like it really added to the movie instead of feeling like a big shift, because it added a great deal of the, like, just basically the thing for them to fight against. And even though there was so much comedic there, I mean, the way that she did not feel like she was in her own flick to me. I thought it worked to perfection, and they did make her very menacing, and she was a character that you would absolutely fear, and they showed how powerful she was, and why she was someone to be so scared of, and so effectively. And I thought that was very well handled. And this may not come as a surprise to anybody, but especially based on what you got right here, but I loved that the Hulk was in this movie. I thought he was so well done, and I've seen some people out there that were quibbling over the level of intelligence that he had, but I mean, if you know the character and you know the comics, you know that whenever he was trapped in the Hulk body, he did end up developing a certain level of intelligence. And you know, at certain points, he even actually was as smart as Banner while he was the Hulk, and that was not here. But I had no problem with the level of intelligence that he had in this film, and I actually thought it would add a great deal to subsequent Avengers movies to see him actually have some kind of understanding of the world when he was the Hulk, and not you know, just be this completely mindless brute, but at the same time be very simple as well. I thought that was awesome. And I mean, of course, when he had his battle scenes, I thought that was great. The fight between him and Thor was freaking awesome, and he's just such a, I mean, I just absolutely adore his character, and I thought he was handled to perfection. And Heimdall was back, played by Idris Elba as always, and I thought this was by far the best Heimdall we've seen. You know, they didn't just have him be there as kind of like the stoic guy. I mean, he was absolutely still very much in tune with the character that we knew. He was very self-sacrificing and all about duty and all that, but at the same time, he was out there actually doing things and and he was somebody who was a leader, and I absolutely thought he was fantastic. Definitely the most fascinating version of him I've seen on film. And they introduced a character named Valkyrie, who is basically the female lead, and she's a new romantic interest for Thor, and I thought that was very well handled, where she wasn't all about Thor. She's just not just there because she's there to be a romantic interest with Thor. I mean, obviously they did that to add that element to the film, but she's also a powerful being in her own right, someone to run into a battle headlong as well, and very, very effective in the role. But at the same time, the chemistry between the two of them was absolutely there, and you could see a growing affection there. So I thought that was extremely well handled. I did not think that they could have handled that any better. I thought that it was going to be extremely interesting going forward, and I really hope that she sticks around for many more films, because I would love to see further scenes between the two of them. And from what I understand, she is contracted to do more, but I mean, you never know in movies. They could kill her off in the next one, especially since she's going to be, I assume, in Infinity War, so the peril there is going to be absolute. So I really hope, though, she ends up sticking around. They also introduced another character named Scourge, who was played by Carl Urban, and I thought he was a fascinating character, where he basically sells out the rest of the Asgardians, and he's kind of weaselly, but at the same time he seems very has very complicated feelings about what he's doing, and he isn't fully committed to his new role. He's questioning the leadership of Hela, and he sees the people he's known for his entire life having these situations thrust upon them, and he feels bad, but at the same time he's a cowardly kind of dude throughout most of the movie. So I thought he was very well done. Now I will say, right off the hop, I was taken aback by the handling of the Warriors 3, and if you've seen the movie, you probably understand why, and the way that they were kind of just briefly handled, I thought was pretty shocking. But also, I thought extremely effective in setting up the world of the film that we are now find ourselves in. So I thought that was cool. And when they had the cameo by Doctor Strange, I mean, he's not in a whole heck of a lot of the movie, but he was great. The repartee between him and Thor, of course, was fantastic. We'd seen it previously in the after credit sequence of Doctor Strange, and I did think it was a very interesting choice that scene at the end of Doctor Strange, that after credit scene, is 100% in this movie. I mean, just that it's just completely cut into the film, and it makes sense as far as like the storytelling. You needed to know that, and I thought it was actually a cool choice, because they didn't depend on you having seen the Doctor Strange after credit sequence, but at the same time, it's an interesting choice for sure. And they introduced another character named Korg, which I thought was fantastic. Another gladiatorial warrior that was there, that he's there basically to be the opening act, where he is dangerous for sure, but he's nowhere near the level of threat of, say, Thor or the Hulk. And he was definitely there for comedic value. I mean, when he would drop in and say stuff, it was hilarious a lot of the time. And he was voiced by Taika Waititi, the actor and who is the director in this film, who I'd seen previously in What We Do in the Shadows, and he's just a hilarious dude. And the voice that he gave him, I think, was just pitch perfect. And he was just a heck of a lot of fun. I really want to get a pop vinyl of him. I thought he was just very entertaining. And Odin was back, and I loved the way that they used his character, and again, the gravitas that he brings to his performance, and the way that you could look up to him, and the way that Thor and Loki saw him, I thought was very interesting, especially because of the back and forth between him and Loki in previous films, but their relationship and how it was handled here, I thought it was fascinating. But of course, I mean, if you're talking about new characters that were introduced that I absolutely loved, you got to talk about the Grandmaster, who was played by Jeff Goldblum. I mean, he's an actor who I've always been a big fan of. He's such an entertaining and interesting guy. I love seeing him in interviews. He's very artistic, and just he seems very self-actuated. I mean, he seems to know exactly who he is, and goes with it, and doesn't care how that reflects on him, and he's just very confident in himself, and he played the character of the Grandmaster to perfection. And I'll admit fully that I was not super well versed in the history of the Grandmaster. I knew he was in the movie, so I introduced myself more to him prior to seeing the film, but I thought the way that they handled that character was fascinating, especially because I don't think he was played very much for comedy in the comics, but I mean, when you have Jeff Goldblum in this film, it has much more of a comedic tone. It's a bit of a departure for the being as in the comics, but still, I loved him, and like his relationship, for instance, with like basically his #1 assistant, who was always like looking to kill and all that, and his reactions to her, and the way he played off of sequences, and when things didn't go his way, the way he reacted was awesome. And I absolutely want to see him interact with the Collector from the other Marvel movies, and see that happen more. And you know, I just think Taika Waititi, the guy who directed this movie, just did such a great job. He handled the comedy and the characters so well. And I mean, the back and forth between Hulk and Thor and their sequences together were fantastic. The way that they defined their characters, and that there was absolutely a friendship there, but there also a bit of competitiveness. And I just adored this movie overall. I just had so much fun seeing it, and definitely one that I'm so happy that I saw on the big screen, and I can't wait to add it to my collection. So those are my thoughts on Thor Ragnarok. Let me know in the comment section below what you think, if you were a fan of it, if you hated it, whatever. Other than that, please hit that like button, hit that share button. It makes it much more likely that others will come check out this review and let me know what they think. And aside from all that, if you are new here or you just haven't done it yet, please hit subscribe, hit that notification bell. That way you can find out when I put out a new video and come and give me that feedback. But more importantly, have yourself a good day.